Welcome to Bedford Studio. You're in the right place for today's Skill Lab. Bedford is the only school for the creator economy. We help everyone, from real estate agents to advisors to healthcare and dental practice owners to consultants and even coaches, turn what they know into content. You'll become an influencer for your own business and learn a real system to keep you consistently growing online with coaching and creator feedback behind it. The name Bedford comes from an old word for a river crossing, and that's the whole idea. We help you cross from nobody outside my circle knows how good I am to people find me online before they ever call. This Skill Lab is one practical move you can use today, where we'll dive deeper into the topic on the screen. A few things before we get started. Got a question for our presenter? Drop it in the chat and our moderator will make sure it gets answered. Want to come on camera and ask your question directly? Click Call In the top right corner. That'll bring you on stage, live, in front of everyone. And if you like this format, we've got a full library of these on our YouTube channel, so you can go deeper at any time. All right, let's get into it. My name is Ann Singer. Today we are joined with Joseph Weaver, and we are going to be diving into a beginner's guide to capturing attention with your hook in the first 2 seconds. So, like I said in that fabulous little intro that we've just got started here, put your questions in the chat for Joseph as we go on. I'm going to hide myself and mute myself so that you can take it away, Joseph, and share your screen. And I'm basically here managing in the background if you need anything. But guys, remember, you can request to come and chat with us later in the Q&A. So don't forget, if you have a question that you want to ask on screen, don't be shy. All right, take it away, Joseph.
All right, perfect. Let's dive in. I'll just move you guys across to a screen over here, and then we'll start sharing. So, entire screen here. Perfect. So, I'm assuming everyone can see that now. Maybe just give me like a thumbs up or a message in the chat, making sure that that's all up and running. And I'll open the chat as well so that we can do it. Perfect. So, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to be talking about how to capture attention within the first couple of seconds. And also how to, keep people watching. Because I generally think it's one of the most important things as a creator we can learn. And let's get started. So a little bit about me is my name's Joseph Weaver. I've built my own audience to over 500,000 people, got lots of views, posted a lot of videos. So I've spent a lot of time figuring out what works and what actually doesn't work. And a lot of the videos that I've filmed didn't even end up making it because of the hooks that we're going to talk about today weren't really strong enough to get people in. What I do now is I work usually with 6 and 7 figure founders on procrastination, overcoming the fears that come up along the content journey, as well as helping them tap into peak performance states so they can achieve way more while working less. And so, yeah, that's what I specialize in. And then with Bedford here, I'm helping people get started with content. I'm also one of the creator coaches. So if you're in the community as well already, feel free to just send me a message, or you might have seen some of my feedbacks on people's videos. So I just also want to do another shout out for anyone that is in the community. Really put out your videos before you post them or after you post them if you want a bit of feedback, and I'll go through and review those. So I've spent years creating content, testing, studying what works, what doesn't work, and I'm excited to sort of dig into some of the key lessons that I've learned through this whole process. One thing I do want to say is if at any point I start speaking too fast or get super excited and you can't understand the New Zealand accent, just put a message in the chat being like, hey Joseph, can we slow down a little bit? And if a couple of people agree, we'll just slow it right down. I find I get super excited talking about this, and so sometimes I can just get a little bit excited. So, with that being said, let's dive in, and I want to ask a bit of a question for anyone that's in the chat or in the audience. I assume they can access the chat. I'm not 100% sure. Is who's spent hours planning or filming and editing a video only for it to get 200 views? Do we have anyone that's experienced this feeling? Or they've put a lot of effort into creating content, but then it doesn't feel like it gets the views that it deserves. Okay, perfect. Yeah, us 100% and low. Not yet. Okay, so the cool thing about this is I imagine there's people also, actually, because we've got people in the public chat and I can't actually see you guys, I'd love to know who's here. If you're here, can you chuck a message in the chat being hey, I'm this person, I'm this name, and maybe what sort of content you want to get started, if you know. Just that way, when we go through examples, yeah, I can sort of tailor it to maybe like a real estate thing or a travel thing or something like that. So it's kind of cool just to know who's actually in this chat. So the thing is, so there's some people that haven't posted. There's also some people that I'm sure has posted, and then they look at their graph of like how long the viewers stay, and it looks something like this. It's kind of like a steep incline. And for those of you that haven't seen a graph like this, because maybe you're new to posting, this is kind of shows when the viewers and how long the viewers actually stay for. And so you'll find here that interestingly, for a lot of videos, that it gets to about the 3 second mark or 2 to 3 second mark. And at this point, for example, in this video, already 60 something percent of people had already instantly scrolled off the video. So we've got to remember that most of the time, someone doesn't even get through a first sentence or a couple of sentences before the viewer goes, no, I'm not going to watch this. So, yeah. And for those of you who've got Jonathan that hasn't posted yet before, because we don't want to get disappointed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure that, yeah, why does this actually happen? And how do we make it so the graph looks a little bit more, there's not such a big drop off. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover essentially the attention mindset, what most creators like misunderstand before they even get started with the hook. We're going to learn what actually makes a strong hook, and I'm going to cover the 2 things that every hook needs to actually relatively perform well. We're also going to look at how to make people care. You know, how do we turn like an ordinary idea and make it feel like it's worth watching? And then the final thing we're going to cover is like the hook stack. Because most of you might think at the moment that when we're talking about like a hook for a video or the first 2 seconds, it's, oh, what am I going to say in those first couple of seconds? Whereas that's only a tiny component of what actually makes a hook. So I'm looking forward to getting this through. And if at any point you have any questions, just chuck a message in the chat and I'll answer it as we go through, or we'll save it till the end and we'll go through all of them at the end as well. So yeah, the first point that I really want to start making here is that the first few seconds usually deserve way more attention than creators give them. Especially for creators that are beginning, they go, oh, okay, like I've got this whole idea, this amazing idea, and then yeah, what should I say? They don't do the hook well enough, so then no one actually watches the super value. And I think that's the key here is a valuable idea can't actually help anyone if nobody stays long enough to actually hear it. So my like personal rule of thumb is what I like to do is I spend about 80 to probably 90% of my time on the first couple of seconds of a video. And so you can even go, hey, I'm going to spend all the time figuring out what do I want to say, how do I start this video, and then the rest of it doesn't have to be as amazing. When I say amazing, it's because you've got people hooked in, they want to watch, and then you give them the payoff at the end. So we'll go into a little bit more of this if this is all sounding a little bit new. But I also want to ask one more question, and that is, who's ever like recreated a successful creator's videos and wondered why theirs didn't get the views? So maybe you've been scrolling and someone in your space and you go, oh, okay, that's a really good video idea. And maybe this is what a lot of, I guess, other people tell you to do is they go, oh, follow this creator, copy their video, and then see how it goes. Do we have anyone in the chat that's done this before? They've looked at a creator, they've done it, they even think that their content might even be a little bit better. I've definitely hopped on trends. Yeah, once again, I think trends are awesome. But sometimes we hop on a trend and we go, oh, this video did amazing, but why is it not doing amazing for me? And so I think this is an important thing that I want to cover first, is that there's a bit of a trust advantage, right? If we're looking and we're copying what like the established creators are doing, we don't actually realize that like the actual recognition or that person's face or we know them already, and we say you've been watching a creator for a long time. As soon as you see their face, you know, hey, this is going to be valuable. This is going to be useful. But as a beginner creator, we don't actually often have that experience. We don't have that. Like no one knows us. No one knows like who is this person and so forth and so forth. And so we've got to understand that as a new creator, as we get started, people don't really know us. We've got to establish some form of relevance, and we've got to almost earn the next few seconds. These creators have already earned the next few seconds because of who they are and the experience that's come with it. So an important thing to sort of remember here is saying we don't want to copy just what they've said. We almost want to ask ourselves, what does the audience already know before they said it? So I'm about to say something that is going to be a little bit confronting, but people don't actually care about you in the content space. And you can probably relate to this as well. And I know it sounds kind of harsh, but if you're just scrolling through your feed and you're seeing amazing cat videos, you're seeing, I don't know, some amazing angle or some amazing photography or whatever is really interesting to you, you're probably just like, and then you see a random video, you're not actually like caring about the person specifically, you're caring about like what emotion they can bring you or what experience that video brings. And so this is like the one thing we might think it's amazing. I don't know, we can probably do anything, and our mums or dads or someone might go, oh, that's amazing, that's really cool, or we have the context about it so we think it's amazing and cool. But someone that has none of that information, doesn't know who we are, anything like that, is not going to have the same emotional connection. And so I really want to sum up that what they do care about is like what it means for them, what can they learn, does it entertain them, whether it relates to something that they may be experiencing. And the thing is like, yeah, so that's what I really want to get across. The key is yet, right? As someone continues watching your content over and over and goes, oh, okay, I restart relating to this person. This person's provided value. This person's provided entertainment. I can like relate to the journey that they're going on. I feel heard and seen and feel like I want to be like that person as well. Then like they're going to start almost getting, it's kind of weird, but like they get attached. They like all of a sudden start caring about like the person and what they're doing. And so when that person pivots and moves to something completely different, people follow because they go, hey, I want to know what this person does because they're invested in their life. And so I just want to remember that when we're comparing like other people's content to our content, we've got to remember there's so many other components that go into it as well. So with that being said, we want to earn the introduction. So and once again, I'm going to say for 90% of the people, this is the sort of advice that I'd recommend, is that we don't really want to begin with who we are. We want to begin with like why they should care. So for example, if I was going to start a video going like, let's just go say, hey, hi, I'm Tom. I'm a nutritionist, ... They probably don't care about my name. Or if I start a video, this is like a super beginner mistake, that people go, oh, hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about blah, blah, blah. Most people have scrolled before you've even got to the part that you're talking about because one, they don't really care about what your name is and they don't really care about like who you are at this stage. The one exception to this is if you've got some crazy experience or you're some crazy celebrity or, you know, like that's how like celebrities, they come and start social media and then all of a sudden they just massively blow up because like people would go, hey, wait a minute, that's that person. But for most of us, we've got to lead with some sort of like experience or some sort of thing for why they should actually care. So it might be instead of like, hi, I'm Tom, I'm a nutritionist, which is no good, people have probably already scrolled. It might be like, if you're starving an hour after breakfast, this might be why. And so then they're going, oh, I'm going to actually learn something. Or maybe it's going, hi, instead of saying, hi everyone, I'm a travel advisor who X, Y, and Z, it's going, if you're about to book your trip to Europe, this website could save you thousands of dollars. And so anyone goes there, they go, oh, wait a minute, what's that website that I could save? And so, yeah, we just got to remember that we want to almost provide value or some sort of experience for that person. So with that being said, here's the two components that every hook sort of needs. The first one is some form of emotion. Like, because the important thing here is that's what makes them care. And once again, it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to make them cry. It doesn't have to make them rage. There doesn't have to be extreme drama. It can just be as simple as like recognition or surprise or feeling a little bit of frustration, or a common one is desire. You know, you post like something about your lifestyle and people like want that, or it's a feeling of relief or a feeling of fear, or maybe amusement, intrigue. Like there's so many different emotions, but the key is like this is what makes people care and makes people like remember the video and go, hey, actually this means something to me. And so the key here is that the worst emotion that someone can feel when watching your video isn't, or actually let's put a guess. What do you think the worst emotion that someone can feel is when watching a video? We'll see what people think. The ick. Okay, great. It's boring. Indifference, perfect. Yeah, so The answer here is like, it's not hate, it's not like the ick. The ick might have, the crazy part here is that the ick might actually make them want to watch it. Right? They'll be like, oh, this is kind of gross, but they're curious. The worst actually reaction to a hook is nothing. If there's no emotion, if it's just boring, if there's nothing that makes them feel either up, down, or some sort of like anything, it's just that's the I guess the most dangerous emotion, or I should say lack of emotion. And the second component that we need in any hook, and this is arguably even more important, is we need curiosity. If there's no reason for someone to watch this, they're not going to stay and watch the thing. And so the interesting here is like, yeah, I can't stress it enough, but there has to be some form of curiosity in the hook to actually make people stay. They might going to go like, oh, what's this, the one thing, or what's the thing that's going to like solve this challenge for me? Or they're going, oh, say, hey, I'm starting a new business. People want to see if it's going to fail or succeed. Or it might be like relatability, or there's some sort of like, I know, I guess the key here is, and why I wanted to keep it so high level, is that you're going to know for your own type of content what kind of like emotion you want them to experience, and then also how can you make it interesting for them. Is it they're going to go, oh, what happens at the end of the video, or how does this play out, or X, Y, and Z? And so I really want you to think and go, how could you do that in your sort of space? So the one little thing here as well that I want to add is that being specific. Well, when I say it needs to add some sort of like curiosity. We don't want the curiosity to be like super vague. We want it to be sort of specific as well, because obviously we can create I'll turn it back in. We want it to be specific. So if someone was going like, oh, creators struggle with consistency, it might be something you've got 30 content ideas saved, but the second you open Instagram, you still have no idea what to post. And once again, these hooks, I'm not going to say like are the most amazing hooks ever, but they're better than the generic option. And I guess the meta question you want to be asking yourself when it comes to being specific, you want to ask like, what are they already thinking? Like, what is the person that you're trying to help, or you're trying to serve, like, what are they actually experiencing? Is it something that's super relatable? Or like if you can really understand what someone's laying in bed thinking about when they're trying to go to sleep, if they're like, hey, this is a challenge I wish I could solve, or oh, why am I not good enough, or why is my videos not working, or like whatever that inner core thought that they're having, and you can speak to that exactly in the first couple of seconds of a video, someone's going to be like instantly, this person understands me. This person gets me. And I think that's the most important part here, is we want to be specific. So for example, if we're talking about like sales conversations, I could start a generic hook and be like, hey, sales conversations can be really uncomfortable. And once again, like it's fine, but it might not relate as much as like the call is going perfectly until they ask for the price. Or like you're on a sales call and it's going perfect until they ask for the price. Then suddenly you hear yourself talking twice as fast. And I just noticed I'm actually talking quite fast at the moment. Or, you know, like so the idea here is I just want you to think about your thing. How can you make it a little bit more specific? And the meta question is, what is the strongest hook often sound like a thought the viewer has already had privately. So, perfect. The other thing that we want to consider when it comes to hooks is something called like the strangest test. And this kind of ties into what we were talking about in the beginning, is that we want to assume that this is the first video that anyone is seeing from you. So can the person understand what is going on with no other context, there's no trust, and there's no obligation to stay? So for example, if you're doing like a series and you're saying, like you're saying a series of showing you starting your business or trying to grow your business or something along those lines. If you're never like, and say you're starting video number 5, if you start talking as if people need to understand video 1, 2, 3, 4 before they get to this video, like people are just going to scroll because they're going to be confused. And so for every video, and once again, it might feel like you're kind of repeating it, you want to have a hook that starts and that start of the video catches them up to speed. So it would be like, hey, I've already made $5,000. Here's how I'm going to do the 6. Or it's day 6. I've made $5,000 so far. Let's see how much I make today. You know, like you've caught them up quickly, and if they want to know more, then they can go follow and see the whole journey. So Yeah, key points here is remember, would a stranger that has no context, no idea, understand what I'm going? And I think this is also another really big challenge for like experts. Because as experts, we understand a lot of the domain. We know the little extra insights in our like field of expertise, and we like understand this, and we know this, and we know this. But when we try and talk about it, we might be talking about it using terms that people have no idea what they mean. And so we've almost got to like dull it down really simply so that anyone can really understand. And once again, we might think, oh, but that makes us feel stupid or sound silly or whatever. But the best performing content, I can't remember the exact age group, is like a fifth grade English or something. Maybe that's high. It's just really that simply you can make it, the better it's going to be, better it's going to perform. And so I want to ask you guys a question. If I was going to like walk across this beam, would you watch me walk across it? Like, and when I say like, if there's a video of me walking across this beam on that was popping up on your feed, once again, you're seeing all these exciting cat videos. You're seeing all of these. I don't know. I keep saying cat videos. Yeah, maybe that's showing my age, but I don't know. Whatever people watch these days on your feed, and then there's just this random dude walking across this. I'm willing to probably bet that you're probably not gonna stay because it's probably not that exciting. The only person that would probably watch this might be my mum or someone that I told to, I don't know, to watch it. The exception is I wonder if I was walking, let's just say, across that same beam, but it was across, say, two skyscrapers. I would imagine like it's the same action, it's the same sort of thing of me just walking across a beam. However, the stakes are completely different. And so this is something that we want to do to make sure like we can, and this is another big challenge that I see so many people make, is that it's kind of, they say, what I should say, like they don't need to know what just happened, but they need to know like why it matters. Or like you can say the same thing in so many different ways. And so I'll give some examples. So for example, let's just say, maybe your hook, right, was going to be, I'm about to post about my business for 30 days straight. You know, like once again, it's fine, but that might not be the same as saying like, hey, I've got 30 days before I run out of money and have to tell my team I can't keep paying them. Like that's way more exciting. And once again, obviously we want to be true to it, and we don't want to make lies. But for example, instead of saying like, say you're talking about business again, and you're like, hey, I raised my prices today. And way more interesting hook of saying the exactly same thing is being, I doubled my prices knowing my biggest client might walk. And even better, it might be saying like, hey, I doubled my prices knowing my $100,000 client might walk. So I want you to really ask yourself in your sort of, with the content that you're creating, it's like, how can you essentially say the same things, but add some stakes to it? And that stakes can come from time. It can come from money. It can come from reputation. It can come from effort. You know, it can be like, hey, I spent 10,000 hours or I spent 100 hours perfecting how to, I don't know, do some sort of painting stroke or art stroke or something like that. And so I really want to ask in your personal situation, and once again, these are often really easy to do when you actually ask yourself and go, hey, what am I trying to do here? So another example might be, I tried, or I guess it might be related to me, is I tried making a video without editing it. It could be I posted a completely unedited video to my 500,000 followers to see where the editing was actually helping. You know, and so I hope this is starting to sort of connect, and I really want you to ask yourself and really go away from this I guess presentation and go, how could I raise the stakes in my content? Is it that I'm doing like wedding cakes? I think there's someone in the community that's doing like wedding cakes and does all this. And it's like, maybe you can do something around the time it takes. It's like, hey, I had 2 days to make the most important cake of my life, or something like that. Or for the wedding cake that, yeah, so forth. So like, I hope that's sort of coming across. Or, yeah, like any sort of urgency or time that we want to create, we can do. So yeah, maybe just put a yes in the chat if this is making sense, because I want to make sure that this is clear for people and that this has at least started the conversation for you guys to go, oh, how could I start sort of raising the stakes in my content? Perfect. So helpful. Awesome. So that's raising the stakes. Now let's actually start getting a little bit more practical and going, what is actually a hook stack? Or like, what are the different things that make up a hook? Because a lot of people, they think about, obviously, like what am I going to say? However, in reality, often the most important part of a whole hook is actually what they see. So I'm just going to break it down overall. The three hook stacks is like what they see, what they hear, and then I guess like what they can read. And I guess kind of read ties into what they can see, but I put it as a separate category. And when it comes to like what they can see, there's so many different things. It might be like a movement in the camera. It might be like an animated expression. It might be like, showing some sort of really risky situation or some amazing food or some sort of like something that they go, oh, wow, this is amazing. And the reason why I'd almost make the argument that a visual hook is more important than anything else is because some of the latest studies show that 85% of people that watch reels and watch video content actually watch it on mute. And so we've got to remember, and so I want to say that again, that like a lot of people watch short form content on mute. And so if you're only relying on audio, a lot of people are just going to scroll. The exception to that as well is I want to say that for anyone that is talking in their videos, maybe it's doing a talking overlay, or like you're talking, maybe like it's a day in the life and you're talking about what you did today, or anything that you're talking, make sure to use captions. So that way anyone that's not watching can still understand what is going on. But it's also why you'll see that the most viral content often actually doesn't even have anyone talking. It's purely just like showing some amazing high risk situation, and that any language, it doesn't matter what you speak, can really relate to it and go, hey, wait a minute, this is crazy, or this is intense, or this is relatable. So we've got this. So yeah, obviously there's what they see, there's what they hear as well. So that comes down to what we're saying in the video, the opening line, how we say it. Once again, there's going to be a difference between if you're really boring, monotone versus like you're animated, you're excited, you're ready to go. And then the other thing is the music and the sound. And so that's where like say trending sounds can come in, or like music that really fits the vibe, or maybe it's like really tense music if it's like a high risk situation. Like the music can also add an effect to it. But the key here is we want to rely ideally on visuals and like the opening line. The other thing here as well is like what they read. And so the hook here is that when there's like text overlays, so maybe if for example, like a lot of the content, actually, I'll talk about this in the next slide, but the three components that we can do is there's text overlays that we can put over the screen to help the viewer instantly know what's going on. And also the first like sentence of any video, or like the description is, like shown on the screen. And so we can actually use that to help hook people in as well. And this is the same, especially if you're doing like LinkedIn content. A lot of all of these things that I'm talking about also relate to like LinkedIn and writing as well. Well, not so much like the visual and what they hear and so forth. But when it comes to like that first line of the description, once again, it still has to have that curiosity and make people care so that they open it and read more. So I wanted to show like some examples. We're not going to go into actually like watching the videos just because of like the time. At the end we can go through if we want to have a look. But some of these, what they do really well. So if we start at this first one, the first hook is kind of, it just shows, it's very straight up, like what's in these Doritos. There's a visual comparison of they see the bag of Doritos and then we see all this like gunk and this random stuff. And then it very quickly cuts to an empty jar, and then she starts pouring in the corn seeds and so forth and so forth. But like right from the start, we know it's clear. We know exactly what she's going to be talking about. We see the visual thing of like, oh, wait a minute. Like it gives us a little bit of a shock of going, wait a minute, I eat those Doritos. Like that's what I eat. Wait a minute, what's actually going in my body? Like and instantly. So that's a really strong hook, and I don't know how many million views it got. The next one here, it's kind of fitting, it's talking about viral hooks, but as we can see here, it does really well at the curiosity bit. It lays out and we instantly see like, oh, wait a minute, he's going to show 7 different viral hooks. And so he peels them off one at a time, and we instantly know like, hey, there's more to come. Like there's a curiosity of like, oh, what's the next one going to be? It doesn't give us all the information right away. We've actually got to stay and watch the video to get the information. If you're in the food space, for example, this next one, like he starts with and he just slams the the cheese thing on the board and quickly opens and like spreads it, and it looks really nice. Like if you're even remotely hungry, it just goes, oh, like this is so yum, this is so thing. And once again, there's no words, there's just like the ASMR sounds of the bread hitting the thing, the cheese stretching, and all of this. And so once again, all of these extremely visual. Then there's like, for example, there's a psychologist that I really like watching her content. She does it extremely well. Is that she uses a few different things depending on what she wants to do. But the visual hook right away is she's saying like how to reduce stress, and then she's showing a real stressful situation. The blender just goes everywhere, and then it shows her like mad and then like stressed and then actually calming down, but also explaining how it goes as well. And then this is just a video that I did for a while, is because I want to talk about, for those that are doing like talking head, because sometimes it's the easiest way to get started, where we're like, hey, I just want to talk to a screen. What I found was that a lot of people were instantly scrolling before I could even say anything, right? Like the viewers wouldn't even let me finish my first sentence. And so what I found that when I did is when I started putting this text on the top of going like, hey, only 10% of the people can complete this challenge, or 97% of the people won't be able to complete this video, or something like that, it almost tapped into this challenge mentality of people going, oh, am I part of that 10%? Am I part of that 3%? And so I don't know how many million views that got, but the point here is that we want to just, like, once again, do with what we can. At the end of the day, we want to create content that makes it easy for us, and obviously there's a lot more effort that goes into doing a lot of the visual hooks. But if the bare minimum is just going, hey, you talking, maybe putting some text on screen so that people can instantly go, oh, wait a minute, like there's some sort of hook to go, hey, I want to watch this and I want to keep going. So I guess, is there any questions so far, or things that like people that are coming up that with these, or anything that people want to ask? Actually, one thing I want to ask as well is that if you're just doing like simple videos, like a visual hook could literally be you take the video from a different angle. Like it breaks this instant pattern of going, oh, we see something normal. It's like, hey, this person's shot like facing upwards or facing downwards, or so forth and so forth. Yeah, and so that's cool. So the other thing that I want to mention here when it comes to hooks is that the hook almost determines how wide your net is. And so if we're doing, and once again, I want to say, like, it depends what our goal is when it comes to content. Because we can do a whole bunch of broad content and broad hooks. So for example, a broad version, right, if we're talking about, say, productivity, might be like, oh, why you're always busy but never feel finished, or something like that. A more refined version might be like, why do founders spend their entire day working and still feel behind? So we've kind of refined it and we're saying, hey, we're talking about like founders specifically. A targeted one might be something like, if you're running a 6-figure business but spend your evenings catching up on admin, this might be why. And so now we're talking specifically about like who the business owners we're working with and their specific challenge that they're facing. And once again, all of these are fine. It doesn't really matter, but it depends on like the outcome that you're trying to achieve and who you're trying to attract. So if you're trying to, for example, just trying to gain followers and you're trying to get as much attention as possible, you want to make your hooks a little bit broader so that people, like wider people, can understand and relate to it and go, hey, that's a little bit to me, or this makes sense to me. Because if you're, say, talking about the most niche things, but say I'm talking about, I don't know, what's a really niche. Yeah, maybe if I'm talking, let's say I'm doing mum content. If you're talking specifically about what happens, like when a baby's born, or like, how to feed your baby, once again, that's going to relate very closely to other mums, and it's going to be much more refined and much more targeted. And whereas, like, if I'm watching that content, I'm going to be like, well, I don't need to know this. Like, I'm just going to instantly scroll and so forth. And so the understanding here is that with the targeted stuff, it's probably not going to get as much reach when it comes to the content, but it's going to come with way more targeted ideal people. And if you're trying to sell a service or do a business or anything like that, you want to actually probably have the right people, and that's more important. So, for example, I just want to say there's one creator that I work with, and like she's absolutely amazing. I'll keep it confidential, but yeah, it still blows my mind. Is she has 2,000 followers, or had 2,000 followers, and with those 2,000 followers, she was making over $50,000 a month. So we often think we need these crazy numbers of like followers to like make large amounts of money if we're trying to make this as an income. And the crazy part is, as soon as she went to 4,000 followers, she hit over $100,000 a month. Honestly, I haven't actually checked now. I think she's at 8,000. I haven't actually asked what the updated like revenue thing is, but I really just want to make it aware that like you can make a lot of money if it's like the right targeted, refined audience. If you're trying to sell a service, if you're trying to go down the brand deal routes, then you probably want more broader, or you want more like views, like because views actually matter. So I'll just give one more example so people can understand. If I'm talking about actually if I'm talking about say like procrastination, a broad one might be like, oh, why do we avoid the things that we know are good for us? Obviously that has the potential to have a huge audience. If we refine it, it would be like, why do creators avoid posting videos that they've already finished? And then that's getting a little bit more specific to creators and that challenge around like, posting videos and getting over that content. And if it's targeted, it might be like, if you're a founder filming LinkedIn content, but keep delaying posting because it doesn't feel polished enough, this is for you. And so there's a whole bunch of different things. So I'm going to just sum this all up as like, hey, depending on the hook, might get more views or less views, but it also is going to determine who watches the content. So that's the thing with hooks. When it comes to like hooks, the hook is the first hook, I guess. The thing we want to understand is like that hook earns us the next few seconds. And what we want to do is we don't want to like do the hook and then give them the result straight away, because then they're going to get the result and then they're going to scroll away and they're going to be like, oh, who cares? The better strategy is going, hey, we do the initial hook and then we almost give them the resolution at the end of the video. And so they're going through, and throughout this whole process, we can have these like little mini hooks. So it could be like you're talking about a story and you're like, oh, but there was this one problem that popped up. And so all of a sudden they're watching to see the whole end resolution, but throughout they're like, oh, well, how did this challenge go? Oh, what happened then? Then something unexpected happened. And you'll notice this in any movie, for example. It's like, it's never just like, hey, they do the thing and then everything works really well and then they get the result. There's usually these little ups and downs where everything just looks like it's not going to go. And we want to experience that and talk about that with these little mini hooks. So where are we at? So I'm just going to sum it up because I want to make sure we have some time for questions if there is any questions. There's a couple of checks that we want to do when it comes to the first 2 seconds. The first, we want to ask like, hey, who is this actually for? Because this is going to allow us to target and refine like the hook and like who we're trying to actually pull into this video. It's like, because I imagine there's a specific avatar that you're going, hey, this is who I want. I would love for them to see my content, or this type of person. And so we want to figure out how do we hook that person in? Then we want to ask ourselves is like, what emotion do we want them to feel when they see this? Or like, what emotion should they feel? Is it like a desire? Is it a feeling of like relatability of like, hey, that's me. Like, oh, I want to know how this works. Or like, oh, I'm afraid to do this, but here's a person doing it. Like, what's the emotion? Then we want to go like, hey, what should they wonder? Like, what's the curiosity? Like what's the thing that's they're going to go, oh, I want to know how this plays out. Or, oh, what's going to happen here? Or how did like that sort of thing. And mentioning obviously, and I'll tying in here is with the emotion and curiosity is how can we raise the stakes like we talked about? How can we make people not just say what we're doing, but also giving the context around it, which makes it so important. So people feel like they're on the journey with us and feel like they're part of it. And then asking yourself, going, oh, when it comes to the hook stack, like, okay, well, this is what I want them to feel. How can I like combine like aspects from like visuals or like talking or like music? How can I combine all these different things to get someone to go, oh, I want to watch and see how this plays out? And yeah, so that's the main thing. So the final little takeaways here is we want to make them feel. If you only remember a couple of things from this, is we want to, in that first 2 seconds, we want to make them feel something. We want to make them curious. And then the most important thing as well is we want to actually deliver on what we've sort of hooked them in. Because we don't want to sort of have some sort of clickbait thing where we say, oh, some crazy thing, and then we don't actually do that on the video. Because once again, that can earn a view short term, but it's not going to build that trust. And then when someone else sees another video content, they're going to be like, oh, well, he didn't actually do what he said he was going to do. So then they're going to scroll. Like, so the whole point is we want to build this trust. So the hook it earns the attention, and the payoff earns the trust. We're short on time. Okay, sweet, perfect. And yeah, the final thing is any questions? So yeah, is there any questions that come through? And while you guys are thinking of questions, I do just want to say that, like, obviously this might feel like, wait, there's just so much that I need to do. You know, like, oh, it's so overwhelming. There's so many different directions and like different things I can focus and work on. The most important thing, obviously, in the beginning is just getting the post out. The idea is getting the post out, then going, hey, how can I evolve it? How can I look at one of these little components that we talked about and go, hey, how can I raise the stakes? How can I like invoke a little bit more emotion or a little bit in curiosity? Or can I do something while I'm talking? Or something like this. And so with that being said, how's it going, Anne? And yeah,
I'm
happy to answer any
back.
questions.
Okay, I'm back to moderate the chat. And again, you guys, if anyone wants to come on camera and chat, let me know. We have just a few more minutes left. So I'm going to the chat and I'm cracking up because so much of it is, oh my God, so helpful. Holy crap, totally. Like everyone is just resonating so much with what you are saying. So just want to make sure that you saw that because I feel like you said something earlier that blew my mind, and it was, wait, I wrote it down because I was like, I never want to forget this. You said the strongest hook often sounds like a thought they've already had, and that is so genius, and I think that just opened the eyes for so many people. Oh, we've got a question coming in. So Julia says, LinkedIn feels hard to hook people. Anything targeted for that?
Yeah, so I'm going to be completely honest. I'm like relatively new to LinkedIn, but the same concept applies when it comes to, I know on LinkedIn, because I've been getting started on it, is that a lot of, in video, obviously there's like a lot of the visuals, there's all of this, but a lot of it comes down to those first like 2 sentences that you can see before expanding the post. And so the key here is going, how can I, in that first couple of sentences, create some sort of curiosity that people go, oh, I want to know what the rest of this post is about. So maybe you say something a little bit shocking. Maybe it's yeah. Well, and once again, obviously you can do photos, you can do videos on LinkedIn. I'm honestly, I'm not going to be able to say like, hey, this one's best or whatever. But that's why I really wanted to keep this talk on almost like the fundamental psychology behind it. Is once again, it's going to rely to the emotion and the the curiosity components, regardless of what platform you do. And so, just asking yourself, losing my voice. What would that, like what do I want someone to feel and think, and how can I hook someone in that first sentence that go, oh, I need to know more about this. So that's what I'd say about that, Julia.
Yeah, okay, that is really helpful. I think she just gave us a thumbs up. Okay, Serena and Ian Smith said, balancing the stranger test while not opening with who you are. How do we reconcile that?
Balancing the stranger test while not opening with who you are. So the format, I guess, that I'd recommend is like you have some sort of hook, right? So there's some sort of reason for why they want to watch this, and so it can be like. So I'd be asking like, hey, what's the lesson or what's the thing that I want the viewer to learn from this bit of content or experience or know about or X, Y, and Z? Having a hook around that, and then instantly leading in with like, because you can put the experience of who you are almost like instantly second. So it'd be like many. For example, there was Jordan in the community that's like, oh yeah, you were feeling if you feel like a victim, X, Y, and Z, then following instantly with his credibility of being a therapist. And so in your case, that one exception was like with this is if you've got some like amazing experience or some sort of like thing that people like. The introduction of yourself is going to be like interesting to someone. So I wouldn't say, hey, I'm Serena X, Y, and Z. It'd be like, hey, as a director of, that's done things for Oprah X, Y, and Z, this is what I found out. Or like then like the actual introduction is the curiosity. And so I would cut out the name part. If that kind of makes sense.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to ask the last question. We had some pretty strong reactions from everybody when you were talking about your friend who's a creator who has 2,000 followers and is making like $50,000 a month. So do you think, you don't have to share too much about her, but do you think that's from partnerships or like relationships that she's made or the community she's built? How do you think that she's managed to scale that?
So in this situation, it comes down, like, she's just got an awesome offer, right? And so it does help that she's in the sales space. So she's in a domain where she's helping people make money. And so in this situation, it's going like, hey, if you're better at sales, you're going to make more money. So she's very targeted to almost people that have gone on, done the Shelby Saps, sales training and so forth, and goes, hey, now I want to learn way more. I learned this, but now I want to be really great. And so for her, it's going like, hey, she knows exactly who she's working with. It's this audience of, women that have already invested in sales training that are going like, hey, I've got this results. I'm okay, but I want to be way better. And so, and that's all her content speaks directly to their avatar. And I think that's the key, is that she's got a really good offer and that she knows exactly who she's talking to, so she can make content to that exact person. And so that's why I always say, like, it's more about like who's watching your content rather than like having lots of people watching your content. Because I also know people that have millions of followers that actually make no money really from their content. They get a couple of AdSense through views. But once again, it all depends. So I know creators, for example, that charge $8,000 for a single 15-second video, and like brands are happy to pay that. And so it comes down to because of how many views and like they've got like some sort of niche audience. And so the real thing I'd be asking you guys is going, it doesn't really matter about how many views you guys get. It's more around like the type of views depending on the end goal of what you're trying to do.
Amazing. Okay, Joseph, thank you so much, and thank you for going a little bit over time with us. This was amazing. You have once again blown my mind. Thank you guys for joining us in today's Skill Lab. The recording will be on YouTube. And yeah, you're the best. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Perfect.
All right.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone says in the chat, super helpful. Thank you. You are awesome.
Perfect. Sweet. Thank you. And I'll see you guys all in the community.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Perfect.